Welcome inside the OUA basketball show, guys. It is playoff time, the best time of the year. My name's Griffin Porter. Thank you so much for joining us here on the OUA basketball show, whether this is your first time tuning in because you've got playoff fever just like I do, or whether you've been with us all year. It's so great to have you. We've got a big guest coming up, but first, we got to do a little playoff previews. That's why we're all here. We're going to start with the men's matchups and then go into our guest and then do the women's matchups after that. We're just going over the first round right now. Some teams have to bye. So make sure you stick around for the full episode and especially for our great interview with our guest. But let's get straight into these men's first round matchups. We're going to start with the 8 versus the 9. Number 9 seed, U of T, 13-9 on the season against the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks at 14-8. The Blues had that great start, but they came down to earth a bit in the second half of the year, cooled down just a little bit. However, when you're playing U of T, the varsity Blues lead the province in offensive rebounding and total rebounding, so they're going to have that going against a Wilfrid Laurier team that's a little weaker in that area. I think that's going to be an X factor in that one, and of course the 8 versus the 9 could go either way. Next up, we're going to keep it focused on one Toronto school as number 7 TMU. They're 14-8 on the year. They'll take on the number 10 seed McMaster Marauders. They finished the year at 12-10. Now, the TMU bold, maybe a little too bold with their decision-making sometimes. They turn the ball over more than anyone in Ontario. You're going to have to cut down on that, especially in the playoffs. You got to take care of the ball when it comes to the playoffs, so that's something to keep an eye on as the Bold take on the Marauders. Next up, we're going up north, folks. The number 6 Lakehead University Thunderwolves at 16-6. They're hosting the Guelph Griffins at 11-11. Of course, we've talked about Lakehead a few times on this show. If you're a regular viewer, you know I'm a big fan of the Thunderwolves and the way they play. You got friend of the show, Michael Okafor, helping to lead the way there. Now, the T-Wolves, two things about the T-Wolves, and they go hand in hand. They lead the OUA in assists, and they get to the free throw line a lot. And I'm sure that great ball movement that the Thunderwolves have helps put defenses behind the 8 ball and leads to those sort of desperation fouls. So if you're Guelph, you got to make sure that you stay home, you play good, responsible defense, because if you can take that away, you're going to force the Thunderwolves to play in the half court, and that's something that they're not quite as comfortable with. They love to get to the line. And then our final men's matchup in the first round is the oldest, maybe the best rivalry in all of U Sports, typically thought of more as a football rivalry, but we'll get another chapter tonight in Western versus Queens. Of course, the Mustangs, the number 12 seed, 10-12 on the year, and the Gales, the number 5 seed, scrapped and clawed to a 17-5 record in that brutal OUA East Division. Aryan Sharma, he's on the western side though, so you can bet against him at your own risk. Leads Ontario in points per game. Now the Western Mustangs, they score a lot of points and they also allow a lot of points. They're good on offense. That tends to leave them vulnerable on defense. And Queens is a very good defensive team. So if that Gales defense can take away some of that Western offense and maybe try and find a way to not eliminate Sharma, but contain him, then that weaker Western defense should allow Queens the opportunity to open this game up. But we had to sort of rush through the men's matchups, just a little preview, because we've got a great guest. If you've been following the OUA at all this year, you have seen her stat lines. She certainly has a very credible case for the MVP. I'm going to throw it over to myself in a different shirt so that I can talk to the fantastic Sarah Gates. And our guest today, of course, you recognize her right on the screen there because she has been making absolute waves in the OUA this year. Sarah Gates, thank you so much for coming on the OUA Basketball Show Playoff Edition.
No problem. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's so great to see you. Congratulations on your incredible season that you've been having this year. I know that, of course, we all know that you were a star even before this season. I hope that you're okay with a little praise because there is going to be some coming your way in this interview. I just want to know, like this year we've seen yet another leap from you. Your points per game has risen by over 6. So did you see this coming? Like this sort of incredible scoring leap?
No, not at all. I mean, our team put in a lot of good work in our off season. Uh, but as the season just kind of went on this year, uh, I guess like internally I was just thinking go out with a bang, and so that was kind of the motto.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's been quite a few bangs this season. Anyone who's following anything OUA related on Instagram has seen the stat lines all year long. Is there anything in particular that you would attribute it to, or is it just sort of improvement across the board, a team that's working really well together?
Oh, it's 100% all because of my team. I think that last year we kind of left with some unfinished business, and this year we've just kind of been working so well together. And I mean, it helps that we're such great friends off the court, so it just makes going to practice every day and competing so much better and so much, in a sense, easier because we're enjoying the moment.
Yeah, and I also noticed something that I don't think gets quite as much attention as the points, naturally, is the rebounds. You're averaging a career high in your rebounds per game as well. You're up to almost 8 per game. Is that like a point of pride for you?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly, it's mainly my coaches pushing me because at the end of the day, rebounds of this, they always say it's just an effort piece. So just trying to keep that consistent as well has definitely been a goal.
Yeah, and you take obviously a lot of shots for your team and you put in the effort on the rebounding as well. Has the stamina, like, has that been there this year for you in ways that it hasn't in other years, or has it been harder?
Um, I think that one personal goal, like after each season that I've had here at McMaster, was to just become like overall more consistent. And I've just kind of expected that from myself and worked to get to that. And then this year, I would definitely say it's been working out fairly well. But then just trying to find new challenges each game, each practice to kind of get myself to that next level each time.
Right. Well, speaking of next challenges, we've got the playoffs coming up. That's a pretty big one. And of course, all year long, you've been seeing different defenses thrown at you and things like that, but it's going to come to another level in the playoffs. Teams will have more time to prepare for you, and you know that you have to figure that some defenses are going to say, as long as she doesn't beat us, we'll take our chances. How do you prepare for people preparing for you?
Um, I got really good advice one time from my assistant coach, Danielle Boyago. Basically, it was a couple years ago. I was the first time at university that I had been face guarded. And it's just like, that's just a whole other level. And it's obviously tough, like mentally, but that's what the other team wants it to be like. So basically, what she said to me was just like, I know you haven't dealt with this as much, but just know the other teams haven't dealt with it either. So it's new to them and it's new to you. So there's not really anyone having an advantage. So just kind of keep working and it will work itself out.
I know, don't feel any pressure to answer this one, but are there any teams out there who like defend you well or in creative ways that you didn't see before as you went sort of as you hit another level this season?
Yeah, no, a bunch of teams do different things. It's interesting because sometimes it's like a smaller guard who's quicker on me, or sometimes it's someone who's my height on me. So it's just trying to be adaptable for me personally. But I do find like a lot of teams throw random things at me, and they do a really good job. I just try to put a game face on so it doesn't distract me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an effective strategy this year. And of course, you guys, your team had a fantastic season and you earned that bye in the first round of the playoffs. Um, First of all, how important is that to you to get that extra couple days of rest and preparation?
Oh, it's great. Like as a sixth year,
Right.
definitely my body is it's good rest. And the game's physical, so it's always nice having a little bit extra time to kind of get back to game day. And then also just like you said, our team's done so well this year, so it's just kind of nice, a nice reward for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well deserved. And just before I let you go, I know very busy time of year. We've got midterms, we've got playoffs. You weren't the only person at McMaster making history this year. Your head coach, of course, Teresa Burns, making her name in the record books as well. Just if you had a couple words on what playing for her has been like and how much of an impact she has on your whole team and your whole program there.
Oh, there's literally not enough words to describe Teresa Burns. She's the GOAT. I think she pushes everyone to their potential, to reach their potential, and it's on the court, but it's also off the court. I think if you were to ask me as a first year athlete, like the impact that this program would have on me, it would not be the same answer that I'm giving you today. I'm 100% a better person, more mature, and it just helped me become a better leader. And that's all hats off to the program that she's created.
Yeah, wow. I mean, when we're dealing with university athletics there, I can't think of a higher endorsement than that for someone, as we said, an OUA legend, the GOAT, some might say.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to let you go because I know you've probably got a practice or something to go to. Busy, busy. But thank you very much, and good luck with your what I'm sure will be a deep playoff run.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again to the fantastic Sarah Gates, both for a great interview. I thought she was fantastic, and for just the privilege that she has given all McMaster fans and all OUA basketball fans to watch her this year. I certainly can't remember many scoring performance entire seasons like she did every single weekend. You were seeing that she just put up insane numbers all over again. But as we mentioned, McMaster, they have that bye through the first round. And I thought Sarah gave us some really interesting insights on how valuable that is to them as a team and to her specifically. But we've got 8 teams to talk about that do not have a bye through that first round. And they're going to have to scrap and claw to get through to that second round. And we're going to start with our 9 versus 8 matchup. We've got the number 9 Brock Badgers taking on the number 8 Windsor Lancers. Both teams at 12-10 this season. And, you know, when I was doing my research for this episode, I was looking at all the different stats. Where's a place that a team could get the edge? Is one team a better rebounding team? Is one team better from the three-point line? These two teams are really evenly matched across the board. Not much separation in almost any category that I could think of. And that's when you turn your eye to the star players. And for me, that is Madeline Weiner for the Brock University Badgers. She could be a real X factor in this one, a great scorer, a great rebounder. Keep an eye on her as someone who may decide this one for Brock for better or for worse. Moving on to our 7 versus 10 matchup, we had the number 7 seed TMU Bold in the men's, and we've got the number 7 seed TMU Bold in the women's. Of course, much has been made of TMU this year. They're playing number 10 Western in the first round at 11-11, and you got to figure the defending national champions, they had that slow start. They're a little bit underseeded at number 7. Tough matchup for Western, who did a good job to earn that 10 seed. You generally, when you get the 10 seed, you don't think you're going to have to face a team with as much talent as TMU in the first round. So if you're the Mustangs, you got to take away the three-point opportunities. TMU really likes living out at that three-point line, and they're comfortable out there. So, and the Mustangs also made more free throws than any team in Ontario, which is big because guess who committed the 4th most fouls in Ontario this season? It was the TMU Bold. So you've got a team that makes a lot of free throws going up against a team that commits a lot of fouls. So if you're Western, get to the line, get TMU in foul trouble, slow the game down, and see if you can scratch out a victory. Now moving on to a really interesting matchup in our 11 versus 6. We've got the number 11 York University Lions at 9-13 against the number 6 Guelph Griffins at 16-6. Now York, I know they're just 9-13, but they actually had a positive point differential for the year, and not by an insignificant margin either. They are really, really good at rebounding. Of course, Lauren Golding, absolutely brilliant player. We're a big fan of her here at the OUA Basketball Show. Now, Guelph, on the other hand, obviously they're 16-6. You don't get that way by accident. And one thing they're really good at is steals and blocks. If you're York, you got to make sure you're making smart decisions with the ball. But York in the bottom 5 in turnovers per game in the OUA this season. They generally do a good job of taking care of that ball and not committing too many turnovers. So that one, I don't know. I'm not going to make a bold statement. I apologize, but I've got my upset watch eye trained on that one. I think that the way York plays, I think they're better than their record, and that they match up well with this Guelph team because they're good at limiting the things that Guelph lives off of. And our final matchup of the women's first round is the number 12 Laurentian Voyageurs at 9-13 against the number 5 seed Ottawa GGs at 18-4. Of course, we saw the bad news on Instagram. just yesterday, Brigitte Lefebvre-Okonkwo suffering a torn ACL. Her career with the Ottawa Gee-Gees is done, and I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate her on a fantastic career. I had the privilege of interviewing her on our old OUA In Conversation podcast. That's still out there if you want to search it up and just sort of celebrate one of the best U Sports careers of the past few years. She was a really phenomenal player, and we know she's going to be there cheering on her team. Ottawa should still come through even without one of their stars. They shoot the highest free throw percentage in the league, and Laurentian commits third most fouls, so sort of similar to that Western TMU key. Ottawa, I think, should have a easy time getting to the line, and they make their free throws once they're there. That's going to do it for our show. Sort of a mega show, but hey, it's the playoffs. That's what mega shows are for. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the games tonight. There's going to be a lot of great basketball, and we're not just going to come once a week. We're going to come at you with a show in between every single round of the playoffs. So keep your eyes tuned right here, and let me know. Get in those comments. Let me know if I did well on my keys to the game here. I think I'm feeling good about them, and I'm also feeling good about watching some great basketball. So enjoy the playoffs, the first round, and we'll see you before the second round.